Good evening, everyone, and thank you all so much for joining us today. My name is Lebohang Mokoena. I am the SADC Training Coordinator, and today is going to be such an interesting topic to discuss. So we will be discussing social media, helping or hurting teen mental health. I will be unpacking this topic with Kaylee. Kaylee Jurgensen has been part of the SADC family for many years. She is a registered counselor with the Health Professions Council of South Africa. She is also the founder of Engage Support. Her main focus is creating awareness, educating parents, teachers, and students on mental health pressures of today's world, as well as resources and techniques to understand and cope better. Good evening, Kaylee, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello, Level. Thank you so much. And I'm so super excited to obviously be chatting tonight. And to everybody that's joining us live today, it's so awesome to have you guys with us. And I'm so grateful that everybody is joining so that we can chat about something really important.
Thank you so much, Kaylee, for that. So maybe just to start off, with this topic, social media plays such a huge role, in teenagers' lives. It could be negative, it could be positive, and this is why we are having this conversation, hurting or helping, a teen's mental health. So maybe just to start us off, how does excessive social media use contribute, to anxiety, depression, or low self-esteem among teenagers?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'm so glad that you said, there's positives and benefits, positives and benefits of the thing, positives and negatives, because there is. And that's the thing with social media and the online world is there are so many positives, but at the same time, there are those negatives and there's those dangers. And unless we talk about it, unless we're aware about it, how is anybody going to know about it? It's the same, for example, as driving a car, right? So if I drive a car, there is a possibility I'm going to get in an accident. There is a possibility I'm going to drive into a pothole. Or if you are like me, there is a possibility that I'm going to run out of petrol while I'm driving. And these are all obviously the dangers. But at the end of the day, we all still drive cars because there's a positive benefit. Like I'm going to get to my destination. I'm going to get from A to B. But the thing is, unless we know what to do when we hit a pothole or when we run out of petrol or when we have a car accident, then we're stuck. And that's the same as the online world. There are these online potholes, there's cyberbullying, there's being exposed to age inappropriate content, unrealistic kind of like standards. There's all these negatives, scamming, just doxing, everything. There's all of these things online, and unless we know how to handle it and empower us, they can really impact us and they can impact our mental health. So that's kind of where I always use that metaphor of driving a car, because we talk about what's going to happen. We plan for it. When I get my driver's license, I plan and I have to write a test and I do this, this extensive kind of learner's test and then a driver's license test in order to know how to handle it, but also what to do if things go wrong. Am I in a situation to handle that? And that's the same with social media. So just with regards to obviously how social media can contribute to us, it's obviously with regards to those negatives and those dangers. So cyberbullying, doxing. So that's when somebody else shares your personal information or embarrassing pictures of you. Being exposed to age inappropriate content. And by that, I'm meaning anything and everything, right? So what's appropriate for one person might not be appropriate for another. And especially when we're talking about teenagers, seeing violence, seeing suicidal content, seeing substance abuse. Even if we just look at challenges, they can be really dangerous challenges. So these sorts of things really impact our mental health. And then on top of that, there is obviously those unrealistic standards, what I like to call Instagram ready pictures and posts that we are exposed to. And it can lead to us feeling, having a low self-esteem or, comparing ourselves. And then, yeah, I think also just the fact that the online world is 24/7, literally, I mean, it does not ever turn off. We are very prone to being on our phone or our devices for a long time. So that constant kind of prolonged screen time can obviously impact our sleep patterns. And we know that our sleep patterns are very much linked with our mental health and our physical health as well. So there is this whole entire cycle. But I'm going to stop there because otherwise I'm going to talk for the next hour about this and not even let you get a word in.
And I love having this conversation with you because there's so much that we need to unpack, especially around, social media and teenagers. The amount of exposure that they have on social media, it's a lot, right? There's the positives and the negatives. And it brings me to my next question. How does social media exposure influence, a teenager's decision making, their behavior, especially regarding risky activities? You mentioned that there's a lot that is posted on social media. It could be around substances, it could be around, suicide. How can this impact their mental health?
Absolutely. So I think like something that we do need to just consider is also teenagers, their brains are still developing. Same as children, brains are still developing. And to be quite honest, I think adults' brains are still developing as well. I don't think anybody is fully developed ever. Um, we always learning new things, we taking new challenges, we are experiencing different things. And social media is obviously something that we are exposed to, but it's also there's a lot of kind of risky behaviors that are normalized. So things like challenges or trends. I mean, I don't know if you remember, there was a few years ago there was the skull breaker challenge.
Yeah.
And all of it was quite innocent. I mean, kids were jumping up and then knocking each other down. It was very innocent, but the thing is, it was super, super dangerous. And because it's going viral on social media, we've also, like, our brains as human beings, as social beings, is really just kind of, we're very connected and we want to be involved and we want to be part of things. So, like, for example, that challenge, it went viral. All of a sudden, everybody is like, I want to be part of this. I want to do this. But we don't take a moment to step back and think, hold on, wait, this actually could be quite dangerous. And based off of the fact that obviously teenagers' brains are still developing, they're very quick to go, yes, I want to be part of something, and maybe not so quick to take a step back and think, what is this? And to be honest, I know we're talking about teenagers, and I know that I'm saying that teenagers' brains are still obviously developing. It's true. But it's also kind of comes down with regards to adults as well. Adults do stupid things all the time too. So to all the teenagers listening, like, I don't want you guys to feel like I'm putting you guys on the spot and saying you guys like, to think like our decision making skills. But at the end of the day, it's everybody, children, teenagers, adults. Like, I think we all just need to think and kind of take a step back, because there are so many things happening, and with the online world, it's instant, right? So there's that instant gratification. I see a message coming in and I'm immediately responding. So that's where it really does, I think, impact our mental health. I see I'm frozen, so I really hope that I'm still talking. But so I mean, just with regards to that as well, it's because there's that instant gratification and things are happening really, really quickly. Sometimes we find it difficult to just stop and pause and think about it. And then obviously, teenagers and adults, we're very susceptible to peer influence. So we might do things because of acceptance or validation, and those things could obviously negatively impact our physical and our personal mental health.
With what you mentioned, Katie, especially around, the social media exposures, a lot of the teenagers have. it can be, quite difficult for them to also kind of gauge, what is it that I should be sort of entertaining and what should I not be entertaining? Especially when it comes to the different challenges, like you mentioned, there was that challenge that was, posted, and all the teenagers just wanted to go onto it, and I think there's a lot of peer pressure as well that has to do with, the teenagers and how they expose themselves to social media and the things that they do as well. Um, but maybe just to sort of ask you a different question, can social media be a positive space, for teenagers as a way to engage? Because there are obviously a lot of things that we've said about social media that are negative, but is there a positive? Can social media be a positive way for teenagers to engage? And can it also sort of be a good thing for them and their mental well-being?
1000%. And I'm so glad you asked that question because I love this. And I always, I speak to this quite a lot because there is so many positives of the online world. And I think that a lot of times we forget that, and we hone in on the negatives and we talk about the consequences, and we kind of forget to maximize or talk about the benefits, because there are positive things happening. I mean, the fact that we can do this Instagram live right now, talking about something so important, and this has got access, and there's tens of thousands of hundreds of people that could potentially have access to this. That for me is a huge benefit. So communicating with each other, learning things, I can go onto my device, I can search something, I can learn about it. Somebody was actually telling me today, I was really impressed. They were saying they were watching a TV show, and while they're watching the TV show, I'm sure everybody knows House. It's obviously about all medical things, and every time a new disorder or like sickness or illness or anything like that disease happens, they kind of make a note of it, and then they go online and they Google it, and they're learning all about this information. So what we're doing there is we're using screen time for quality there. We're watching a show, but we're also researching. So from a learning perspective, it's huge. I mean, AI has also just enhanced that. I can also talk to my family and my friends that live in different countries. There's this access to be able to have these sorts of conversations, access to information, and also access to entertainment. If I just need some downtime, I can go online and watch a video, or I can go on Netflix and watch a show. And then there's obviously positive aspects such as mental health apps, things like that. So I always like to think of it as quality screen time. We want quality over quantity, and we really want to just obviously maximize those
Yeah.
benefits.
And I'm really glad to hear that, there are teenagers out there, and to those who are actually joining us today, there are ways that you can use social media, in a way that it can actually enhance, you as an individual. It can help sort of, upskill you. You can learn a lot from social media. It's obviously just how you use it. But I do know that too much of something good is really not good. How can teenagers sort of
Yes.
detox from, social media? Because as much as, yes, there's this information, some people find it so hard, to sort of detach and, spend time outside of social media. How can teenagers, sort of detox from social media without feeling isolated? Because there are some teenagers out there who don't really, socialize in person, but maybe they prefer, being online and engaging with people online. What is it that they can do? What are some of those ways that they can detox?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, look, just being aware of our screen time, and the amount of time we're spending is really important. So, just being in touch with what we're doing, being in touch of how many hours a day am I actually spending online. I will always say that I think that's the first step, because I can't cut down on my screen time unless I know actually how much I want to cut down of it by. So really just kind of being aware of how much time I'm spending online, and then implementing kind of screen time rules. And this is the thing, teenagers can implement these for themselves. I know a lot of teenagers have their parents implementing screen time for themselves. Absolutely. Um, so yeah, I think it's really important if just, for example, teens can implement these rules for themselves. So having a look and saying what is happening, how much time am I spending online? Okay, where can I cut this down? am I going to cut down my screen time before bed? Am I going to do this? And one really easy way of doing that is obviously by filling up our time with offline activities. So whether it's studying for exams, whether it's going out with friends, doing things offline is really important. And obviously bringing in self-care. So doing things just to fill up their cup, showing themselves love, take that time to relax, because the more amount of time, and there's so many different statistics and about the more time I spend online, the more likely I am to struggle with my mental health. There's these statistics, and there could be so many different causes for that. So it's really important that we just take a moment, take a breath, take a break. For obviously everybody's got different devices. I have an iPhone, and literally every single week, I don't know if it's such a good thing, but every single week I get a notification to say how my screen time has increased or decreased according to the previous
Same.
week. And I, to be honest, like for me, doing these talks and engaging with people, it's really important to be honest and transparent. Guys, I struggle with social media as well. I struggle to put my phone down. I struggle to be present offline because so much is happening online. So I know it's tough, but we've got to make that conscious decision of actually saying, okay, hold on, wait, I'm putting my offline time first. So if you go on holiday to somewhere where there is no Wi-Fi or network or anything like that, good, because then you're forced to spend time offline. And I'm just thinking, I don't even know if I've properly answered your question. But the one kind of metaphor that I do just want to share with everybody is with regards to donuts. So I am sure everybody watching this has tried a donut before at some point in their life. So with regards to donuts, right, like I love donuts, they're amazing, but I know if I eat too many donuts I'm going to feel sick. So I know, okay, I can have one donut and then after one I might feel sick, but it's okay. Like a donut is delicious, so I'm going to have one. Same with the online world. I know like how much online time I can spend. I also know what's the positives and the negatives, so I'm going to try and implement that. So yeah, I guess the point that I'm trying to make to everyone is think about it as donuts. Are you going to eat 10 donuts and then end up feeling sick? That's probably not a good idea. So same thing with social media. Like, it's okay to take a break. And also, what I have seen, especially in my private practice, is my teenagers are so much better at implementing screen time rules with themselves than most adults. So well done,
So,
teenagers.
yeah, I think some adults are struggling, to sort of find a balance.
Myself included.
To find a balance between, social media screen time and also just time with loved ones by yourself outside. And I love the metaphor that you used with donuts. For someone with a sweet tooth, I can relate. And I feel like too much of, donuts, if I'm going to eat 10 donuts, I'm definitely going to feel sick. So I love the metaphor that you used there. Are there some alternative ways, that teens can sort of make use of as a way to express their feelings? Like I mentioned earlier, that, some of them do depend a lot on, social media, engaging online, speaking to others virtually. Are there other ways that teenagers can express, their emotions and feelings, alternatively outside of social media?
Absolutely. So I think, obviously a lot of teenagers do gravitate to the online space to kind of express their thoughts. And if they are kind of that what works for them, I really want to encourage them to download a safe mental health app. So, and by safe, I'm meaning an app that's going to protect their data, an app that is, going to obviously be a benefit, that's got good content, that's healthy, and yeah, protecting their safety and their privacy. So doing that, journaling online, those sorts of things are obviously very helpful. But it's also really important to talk to somebody face to face or even over the phone. Engaging with a real person straight away is really, really important. So, to all the teenagers out there, I think, guys, if you can just find one person in your life that you can talk to, somebody that you feel safe with, somebody that you feel comfortable to open up about if there is anything you're struggling with. It might be a friend, it might be a family member, it might be a teacher, it might be another teenager. It could be anybody. And in saying that, if you don't have anybody in your life, that is also okay, and that's also understandable. Sometimes we don't want to talk about our really deep personal things with people in our lives, and that's okay. And obviously that is where kind of the SADC call center help, or SADC helpline number comes in. So I want to just obviously encourage all the teenagers out there, if you guys don't have somebody that you feel comfortable speaking with face to face, pick up the phone and phone SADC. There will always be a counselor there that's ready and available to talk to you. I know this because I started as a volunteer at SADC very, very, very many years ago. But there is always somebody on that other end that cares. So yeah, I think just kind of figuring out who you can talk to, finding your support network, finding those people that you can, reach out to, and somebody that's also going to be non-judgmental, because we all go through tough things. We all are exposed to things that are going to contribute to our mental health, but you don't have to do it alone. And speaking to somebody and reaching out and connecting with somebody else is so important. And even if it is a friend, somebody that's going through the same thing. And I think it's also really important, if you are that person for somebody else, if you are that safe person and you've got a teenager talking to you, it's also okay that you don't have all the answers, that you don't have to be the one with all the answers. You might have a friend talking to you about their mental health and how they're struggling, and you might be completely out of your depth and actually you don't know what to say. That's also okay. Pick up the SADC, pick up the phone and phone SADC, because there will be somebody on the other end that will be able to guide you and provide that support. So that's why it is really crucial that nobody feels like they have to do it alone, because you don't have to. We are here to help and to support you, and just know that life is tough. Life is hard for teenagers, and I must be honest, I do think life is hard for teenagers. It's harder now than it was when I was a teenager, or even longer than that, than when parents were teenagers, because of the social media and because of the online world. There's so much happening. Just like everything is just a constant. There's so much pressure academically. Life is moving so quickly. So yeah, teens, I think it is tough for you, but please ask for support when you need it.
Thank you so much for that, Kaylee. Having to sort of highlight on the importance of reaching out, to someone, to a loved one, and sort of encouraging, teenagers to create some sort of support structure for themselves, so that when they are feeling overwhelmed, if they are experiencing challenges, there is someone that they can reach out to. And it's okay if they don't have that. Places like SADC, we are here to help, to, listen in, and hear them out, and provide them with that safe space. And I love what you said about, there are some apps that they can make use of, as a way to journal, as a way for them to sort of, have some time to themselves, by themselves, on those particular apps. And I'd like for us to maybe just discuss that a bit further. What are some of those accounts or pages or platforms or apps, that you could encourage teenagers to follow or use, that could sort of have a positive impact on their mental health?
Yeah, so absolutely. Look, I think there's so many different ones. There's Calm, there's a Headspace, there's it's gotten literally off the tip of my head. There's so many different ones. So I think, obviously finding an app that works for them, but also it comes down to, what do they want to use the app for? So are they trying to use the app for finding meditations? Cool, then Headspace or Calm is a great one. Are they trying to have a mood tracker? Are they trying to have a journal? Just trying to identify which different kind of features that they want, obviously, on an app, and then going onto that platform and then using it, and using it as a space for quality, not quantity. So we want to be able to obviously get that support. I've also got an app, it's Engage Support. There's a lot of mental health resources. There's a mood tracker, there's a journal, there's a checklist. I mean, I could speak about this for hours, but I mean, teens are also welcome to go on, have a look at that. Parents as well. Parents, please go check it out. You can use the login code You Matter create your own account and then see all the resources, learn, engage. But yeah, there really are. There's a lot of different apps and platforms out there. And just in terms of like even just accessing information, even just going to the SADC Instagram page or the Facebook page, the SADC is obviously sharing a lot of information all the time, and that's incredible. There's also I've got my Facebook and my Instagram accounts as well, where we try to share as much information as possible. There's a lot of different fantastic organizations doing that. So yeah, I think just finding also just in terms of that is really just ensuring that the people that you are following online are accounts and places and people that make you feel good about yourself. If you are online and every time you see somebody's posts they're negative or they're making you feel negative, then unfollow them, unfriend them. Follow accounts that make you feel good about yourself. Follow accounts that are positive, that are inspiring, that are motivational. Because life is hectic. We don't need the negative all the time. Sometimes we do. We really just need to hone in on that positivity.
Yeah. Sure. And thank you so much for sharing that, Katie. It's actually so amazing to hear that there are apps like Engage Support, for example, that have all these resources that are available, for teenagers, for parents as well, to sort of see what kind of content is on there, what is it that they can bring into the conversations with their teenagers. And it's really nice to know that there are those apps that are available as a way, for teens to also find ways to detox, to sort of also better their overall well-being by using those different apps that you've mentioned. Now, speaking of parents, what are some practical ways that parents and educators can help teenagers, as a way to develop a balance between screen time and real life activities?
So, look, I think for parents, the most important thing as a parent that you can do for your child is just to be there and to listen to them, validate what they're feeling, but be there in a non-judgmental, and just there to listen to them at their level. So, parents, I think anything that your child is going through, just being there to hear what they have to say and just checking in on them. I think that can do a lot. But in terms of kind of like helping them balance screen time and kind of offline activities, is obviously helping teenagers understand, obviously, screen time, helping them implement and setting boundaries as to when they can use it or when they should or when they shouldn't. I know, look, it is really tough to begin with. A lot of parents will say, at 9 o'clock at night, okay, cool, hand me your device, it's going in the kitchen kind of thing. And then teenagers obviously hate that and there could potentially be a fight. But at the end of the day, we've just got to think back and say, okay, hold on, wait, what is my parent trying to teach me? What are they trying to help me with? Getting our phones outside of our bedrooms is really good, because obviously we need to try and have good sleep so that we can function at school the next day. So I think it's really important, to listen to where our parents are coming from. If I'm a teenager, to listen to my parents. I know I don't always like what my parents say, but my parents do sometimes know better. And yeah, parents, I think it is tough. So trying to just kind of get on your teenagers' level, explain to them actually the purpose of what you're trying to do, and work with them, not against them. Teenagers need to be included. Teenagers need to be, guided as well. So say to them, you worried about the amount of time they're spending online. Do they have any suggestions of ways to decrease their screen time? Is there anything that you can do to help support them? So really just kind of also making them an active decision maker in their life, because at the end of the day, this is their life. And, if we can get them involved in those decisions, honestly, it's going to be better to implement, but also they might have some really good ideas because they are the experts on themselves. Just like we are the expert on ourselves, they're the expert on themselves. So if you ask them, I can see that you're struggling to put your device down. Is there anything that I can do to help you? Is there anything that we could implement as a family to support all of us in decreasing our online time or having this balance? Yeah, just having those conversations in a non-judgmental space and validating what they're going through, and saying to them, parents, please say to your kids, you understand how important it is that they communicate with their friends. because that is something that is very, very important to them. It might not be important to you as an adult, but as a teenager, those peer relationships sometimes feel a little bit more important than even our parent relationships. So acknowledging that for them is showing that you're listening and that you're seeing them, and then coming up with a plan together.
Sure. I love what you said there, about sort of being on the teenager's level, as a parent and trying to understand where they're coming from, but also for the teenager to understand where the parents are coming from and having to find that balance. And I think it's so important, for parents or educators, to sort of allow the teenagers that space, create that safe space for them to say it's okay. I understand
Yeah.
that there are some parts of social media that you really love to engage with, but we need to find a balance, right? And sort of doing things that they love doing, sort of doing hobbies and activities that, they like doing as well. And I love what you said there about, the level of inclusion as well, which is really such a great idea that parents should look into. We have run out of time, but thank you so much, Kaylee, for
Oh,
joining us today. I know we could spend hours and hours talking about this particular topic, but I truly do appreciate you hopping on, this evening to help us unpack this topic of social media, whether it's hurting or helping a teen's mental health. And I think after this discussion, I've learned a thing or two, about social media. And I hope that, everyone that's watching today has learned a thing or two from this discussion.
before we end, I just want to obviously say thank you to everybody watching. And I know we've got just one question, and I just want to quickly answer that. I am notorious for going over time, but when it comes to a parent is asked, when it comes to kind of like if your teen is sad and obviously you're checking in on them and all they're saying is, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. What can you do as a parent? So I think also parents, sometimes teenagers don't know how to express what they're feeling. So if we are constantly asking them, how are you feeling? Are you okay? Are you not okay? We're asking these questions all the time, and being asked that can sometimes feel a bit pressurizing. So we just say, I'm fine, I'm okay, like everything's fine. So what you can try and use is almost like declarative language. So basically what I mean by that is asking or putting the statement out there without asking in a direct way. So just saying, oh, I'm wondering if, everything's been okay lately. I'm not asking directly, are you okay? I'm just kind of putting it out there that I'm worried, or, I've been worried about you recently, and just see what they do with that. Oftentimes it takes that pressure off, and then they're really, obviously a lot easier to open up. But if they're still not opening up, then check in with their friends. And they also might obviously not be talking to anybody because they might be embarrassed, or they're really struggling and they don't know how to talk about it. Just saying to them, do you want to speak to somebody? It's absolutely okay to normalize what they're feeling, validate it. And you can even say to them something along the lines of, I can see you look really sad. Would you like me to organize someone to speak to you? Or would you like to speak to a therapist or a counselor or a SADC counselor? And you can say, things are obviously always confidential and it's okay. But just seeing them can also just go a really long way, and just showing that you can see their emotions. And then, just try kind of ask it in a different way. So almost passively. And then obviously just sharing kind of how you're doing. So if, for example, you can see they're having a really bad day, it's also okay for you to say to them, oh, I'm having such a bad day today. And just, because that's where you're also showing that you're human and that you also struggle, and hopefully they will then see that and then be able to open up about that as well. But if anybody else obviously has any questions, you guys are welcome to DM me directly. You can go to my page, Engage Support, or Kaylee Jorgensen, Registered Counsellor. Message me, and I will try and get to everybody's questions as soon as possible. Otherwise, contact obviously SADC directly, speak to a counsellor there, or message SADC, and then SADC can pass it on and I will answer and send back. But to everybody for joining, thank you guys so much. And Lebo, it's been so great chatting to you.
Thank you so much, Katie, and thanks for opening up your platforms for people to reach out to you. So everyone is welcome to reach out to Kaylee or even SADC. If you do have any additional questions or anything that you feel like was not necessarily addressed that you'd like more clarity on or direction on, please do feel free to reach out to us, and we'll definitely ask for Kaylee's expert advice. Thank you all so much for joining us, and I do hope that you'll all have yourselves a great evening. Take care. Bye.
Bye.